A bit of advice, please, doctor. I had breast uplift and reduction last March 2022 in Turkey. No issues, healed lovely. Now 18 months later, where the scarring is anchor scar, abscesses have developed. Don't stop leaking, all superficial, no infection present. Unusual, no butsies. I'll give you one. Number one butsies, I'll give you that. Been referred to a breast specialist and GPs, don't know what's happening. Unusual for that long after the surgery, 18 months, but probably the issue is going to be at the T-junction is the tightest point. If you look at the markings of a breast lift, then or breast reduction, then the tightest point is that T-junction, and there's an awful lot of sutures at the T-junction, and if the sutures don't dissolve, then they can cause this sort of problem. They can cause localized superficial abscesses, infections. They can spit out and they can cause problems, and that's the most common place to have it. 18 months, I'll be honest, is a long time to have it afterwards. Usually it's in the first few months afterwards, but if that's all, probably the answer. There's some suture material in there. It's all the body's got annoyed with it and is kind of spitting it out, and so it depends on how bad it is. It would be like, usually, well, often you don't need anything. If it gets infected, you might need some antibiotic. If it's really bad, you might want to look at maybe taking some suture out, especially after 18 months, because it's all pretty well healed. So kind of exploring the area and seeing if there's kind of suture material there that needs to be removed, because we often use, well, personally, I often use quite a long dissolving, a suture that takes a bit longer to dissolve as my first suture. It's often the only one I put in at that T-junction, and because it's a heavier, stronger suture, and I put it in at the T-junction because that's where I need the heavier suture. Because when you put it in, if you ever see the surgery, it's under a lot of tension. So if you use a lighter suture, that often breaks. So I put a strong suture at that T-junction, but I try and hide it deep, because if you don't hide it deep and if it gets too superficial, because it's a strong suture, it takes a lot longer to dissolve because it's kind of thicker. They dissolve by being in contact with water, and so a suture, like a tube of suture, has got water all the way around it. But when you have a knot, the water of your body around it is kind of like just on the outskirts, and it's not getting to the center of it. So after a while, it doesn't dissolve because there's so much suture material. Because again, when we do knots, you do kind of throws. So you do certain throws, like when you do your shoelaces off, that'd be one throw, but you will often do more throws at the T-junction, which will give you a bigger knot, which will be stronger, but will actually potentially take a bit longer to dissolve. So that's can be an issue. Sorry, there's comments coming up left, right, and center. Bring her to a breast specialist. They have no answer. It's all around the nipples and T-junction. Yes, it's like my body is opening the scars up. Doctors in Turkey say any stitches in breast would be dissolved by now. Okay, well, doctors in Turkey will probably know because they know what sutures they used. One of the problems with sutures is they say, so it depends on what suture they use, because I've got a lot of stick. Go and look at my, well, you don't have to, but if you did look at my YouTube video on how long does a suture take to dissolve, because that was something someone asked me on one of these Q&As, and I said, oh, it depends on what type of suture, and they all the comments said, oh, you haven't answered the question, but it does. I mean, there's some sutures, PDS, for instance, takes a lot longer to dissolve than monocryl. So some sutures take longer to dissolve, Vicryl. So they will say the suture takes, I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks to dissolve or something like that. But they're talking about the thread of the suture. When it comes to a knot, you can't really say how long that takes. But I agree with the doctors in Turkey in that 18 months is a long time to still be getting problems with sutures. But that's kind of what it sounds like. If you're getting it at the T-junction, that's kind of what it sounds like. So I don't know what to say. Probably just treat it conservatively in terms of infection, treat it with antibiotics and dressings if needs be. If it's really bad, then you might need it to be explored to see if there's any suture material that can be removed, because that will make it heal quicker. But if it's not suture material, I don't know what it is. Number one, butsy. My money is on it being a suture material and being a knot and there being a foreign body in there. But that's my my view. But it's hard, isn't it? I haven't seen you. I don't know. So I always say it's best to see the people who did the surgery and getting examined and stuff. So you say that the doctors in Turkey have said that. Have they seen you? You want them to see you, examine you, have a look what's going on, because it's kind of easy to say the stitches would have been dissolved by now, but you have got a problem. So it's like, what is the cause of the problem? So you really need to get someone to see you to see if there's what's the issue.